This video I'm going to go over how to manage your leads in Vacation CRM. So you can see here on my dashboard I have a trip leads section. I have found after talking to a lot of users they aren't using these, but I think they can be very valuable for many reasons: tracking purposes, making sure you don't forget about certain clients as you're working with them, way to manage what status you're in with them. So I'll go over all of that today. There are a couple different ways to add a new lead. The easiest way is you can use the trip leads form, which is really like a request info form. Here's an example of one. You can put this on your website, and it's designed to just kind of ask the client some basic initial information about what they're looking for. So they're going to fill out their name, contact info, how many adults will be going, how many children, what are their ages, as well as in the trip information, things like what, when, where, what's the occasion, what's their budget, what's important to them, things that you might ask a client on a first phone call to kind of gather what they're looking for so you can send them a couple of quotes. Now, I don't think it's necessary to use this form every single time, because if the client calls you, I think it's just as easy to get that information over the phone rather than make them, tell you this over the phone and then fill it out on the form again. So this is certainly an option to have on your website, and I think it's a good option. However, you could also just go to your system maybe while you're on the phone, create a quick profile for them, and then when you have the profile created, you can just come up here and say add new lead. And on the lead, you're just going to fill out the, again, basic information. So what is this trip that they're interested in? So you could say something like that, and then you want to select the status. So more than likely you're going to start with initial contact because you're just starting out with them, and you can put in the type here as well if you want. So it's an adult vacation or no, family vacation. And then what I do also recommend is put in these things here: the estimated booking date and the trip date, as well as the estimated trip cost. This is kind of like their budget. So when do you think you will have this booked by? So let's say I want to give it a week from today's date to get this booked. And the trip date, I realize that initially you don't always have a date set in stone, but we said December here. So let's just say that the client said, like the first or second week in December. So we'll just say maybe the 7th or 8th, or we'll just say the 8th here, and they want to go for probably 5 nights. And then we will click create. So what that will do is that will add that to your trip leads section of the dashboard here, so you can always manage and see where you are at with each and every client. Now, I started that one with initial contact, so as you go, you can move this to info sent or quote sent depending on the situation. You can also sort this by any of these metrics here, by the status or the cost or by client name, whatever you want to do. And this will allow you to quickly and easily see these clients in here. Now, another thing too is when you mark it as quote sent, one thing I love about this section of the dashboard is the days since status change. And I know these are very extreme examples here, but basically if I change something today from initial contact to quote sent, it's going to have a 0 here. Tomorrow will be a 1, next day will be 2, and so on. So at a glance, you can see how long it's been since you quoted that client, or even since you sent them info, any of that. And that'll help you determine, how serious is this client. Obviously this client, I know without even seeing a name, they're not going to book if I quoted them 662 days ago. But even if that number is like a 14 or 20 or so, you're getting up into territory where that client is most likely not going to book. So you can see just from those numbers, maybe you don't want to spend as much time with that client, because there are other clients who are responding to your emails and who are ready to book that you can focus on. Now, there are 2 statuses that you can move these to remove them from the dashboard. So there is closed, which would mean the client booked, and there is lost, which means the client did not book. Both of those statuses will remove them from the dashboard because it's no longer an active lead. However, you can always go to that client's profile and look into the details, because that lead's going to remain under their profile. Now another button we have that I don't really care for, this convert to trip button. The idea here when this was created was you already took the time to put in the dates and some things like that, so why not just click a button to move it over to a trip? But I have found in practice that's not very common situation, or handy, I guess you could say, because typically users are going to have the client fill out the registration form, and that's going to create a trip in itself. And so rather than move a lead over to a trip, I recommend just leaving it as is, moving it to closed or lost, closed if they book, and then have a new trip created under there. The other reason I recommend not converting it is because you might want to track some metrics on how many leads you have closed versus how many you lost. And if you're converting all of your closed ones over to a trip, the lead no longer exists, so you're not going to be able to track historical data on closed versus lost. So I don't recommend doing that. Now another thing that's tied to the quote sent status here is if you go to your auto email templates, there is a quote follow-up reminder. I don't really have much typed in here, but the idea is, let's say you want to follow up automatically with the client if they still haven't booked after you quoted them. So all you need to do is just check this box to turn it on, assuming you already have these enabled. Put in the number of days after the status has changed to quote sent that you want this to go out, and if it remains in that status, in this case for 3 days, it's going to automatically email the client whatever you have typed in here. So if you just want to send over a, hey, I haven't heard back, did you have any questions, or did you change your mind, or something like that, to automatically follow up with them, because as we all know, some clients you have to send them several emails to get a response, even if they're serious. Maybe they're just bad about emailing you or forget about stuff, so it doesn't hurt to follow up with them automatically here, and this can do that for you. Now one of the other benefits to using the leads is if you go to the financial dashboard and you scroll to the bottom, you can see your travel leads. So maybe I want to look at a couple years worth of data, and let's do it by travel date. So I can see at a glance how many leads I have in each status by dollar amount. So you can see I'm doing pretty well. My closed versus my lost, decent. But I also have over $80,000 worth of leads sitting in quote sent status. So maybe if I'm having a slow week, I want to just go circle back to all of these clients, because I have potentially almost $85,000 worth of travel sitting there quoted but not booked. Same thing with info sent. I've got another 25,000 here, and I've got an estimated 50,000 in initial contact. So when you look at all these numbers, you've got to minus these two, you've got a lot of potential money or sales sitting there that isn't closed. So you can track it like that. There is also a system report you can run that would just be essentially a listing of all of your leads, and again you can filter it however you want. Let's just do all dates and show on screen, so you can see individual leads that you have here in a report. And then you can also, if you want to go one step further, you can create custom reports for things tied to the leads. So just to give a couple of examples, if you go into your system reports folder of your custom reports, we have one, leads closed versus lost, and it's just a simple pie chart here where you can see by dollar amount. You can see I've closed almost 70% of my leads compared to 30% of them have been lost. So these are the leads that are either closed or lost only. These are my percentages. You could also do some things like, let's go back to the folders list and in test reports. I've got leads by referral source. So if you are marking the profiles with referred by, or if you make that a required field on your trip leads form, it's going to populate in their profile with where they found you, whether it be friend or their previous client, or whatever it may be. And I've got another pie chart here to see where my clients that are in leads are coming from. So in this example, obviously on this account I haven't done a very good job of putting in the referred by, because over half the pie chart is blank. I have no referral source. But if you take that out of the equation, which you could do with a filter if you wanted to, you can see that the majority of my leads are coming from past client referral. And these options for the referral source are customizable in the system. So if there is something very specific that you are spending money on marketing wise, you can add that as a referral source. So clients, when they see that, they can say, "Oh, I found you from a billboard or a wrapped vehicle or a magazine ad, or whatever it may be," and then you can kind of track where is my marketing working versus my free growth with word of mouth and things like that. So just using these leads can help you with more than just staying on top of working with your clients. It can do a lot of other things for you as well. So give it a try. If you do have any questions, let us know, or if you have any suggestions, of course, let us know, and we will see if that's something we can add. Thank you.